St. Moritz in Switzerland, what the sliding world considers its spiritual home. For over a century, they have been racing down the mountain here from St. Moritz to Celerina in the valley below. And that history continues today. We're into the second and deciding run of the men's skeleton race. Martin Haven, and alongside me in the booth is the woman who won the World Championship here in 2007 on this ice, Noelle Piker-Space. And Noelle, 29 sleds started, only 20 get through, but we've got a really tough battle at the top of our pile.
Yeah, right here we see Trechikov. He had an incredible start record. That's always going to build your momentum as you go down the track. And anytime you have a fast start like that, it's going to be tough to beat by the bottom. His speeds were great. We saw some faster speeds as we came down. Tomas, Kyle Tress, they all had excellent speeds. Martin Dukers is always up at the top of the list. Here we see Matt Antoine coming up in the ranks. He had a first place finish in Lake Placid. He's got the confidence, he has the speed, he has that height in horseshoe, built his momentum. 130 kilometers an hour, great speeds.
Well, 1700ths of a second cover the top four. Antoine in third place, as you said, already a winner this season. And Martin Dukers unusually not leading.
Yeah, it's very odd to see his brother Tomas up in the leader's box, but he did go first, and that is going to inhibit his time on this track. In St. Moritz, Switzerland, the track seems to speed up the later that you go, and he had that bib number 1, as you see on his chest right there. So I think that we'll see him picking up some speed, picking up some time in his second run.
And that means the older brother has to hold off the younger sibling. Can we get another Dukers 1-2 as we had in Winterberg last week?
Yeah, you know, he had some very good speeds on his first run, very clean run from top to bottom, and you very, very rarely see these Dukers brothers make mistakes, and as we saw in these first 2 runs, they were very clean, and I'm suspecting that we'll see the same for their final 2 runs.
Well, they will be the last 2 sliders as we go from 20th down to 1st in reverse order in the second heat. 1700s cover the top 4. We got some very close battles behind them as well. So athletes separated by as little as 100th of a second all the way down the top 20. And with a full mile of ice and the opportunity to either make mistakes or, like Yuki Sasahara and Anna Mirambel, have a really standout run, then we could be in for some really entertaining racing here in St. Moritz. So this handmade track, built afresh every single season down through the woods in the valley here, is a movable beast. It's only about 2 degrees of air temperature, but the overnight low, there's no artificial refrigeration here. The overnight temperatures keep the track cold. Our start list with Russia's Sergei Chudanov first off. Austria's Matthias Guggenberg and Rafael Meyer a little disappointing down the bottom of the top 10, bottom of the top 20. Ed Smith makes the cut. He'll go off 9th. That's the first time he's been in the top 20 all season. And then we had 2 great slides as well to get in from Alexandros Kefalas and Ander Mirambel from Greece and Spain, respectively. Sergei Chudanov first on the ice here as we go in reverse order of their first heat performance. Chudy clinging on in the top 10, now 29 years old, from the Moscow region. And in the last Winter Games in Vancouver, 12th position. He'll be looking to at least half that in the drama.
Oh, no!
I said in the first run that so seldom happens here. I almost crossed my fingers as I did, but Chudy shows...
Out of the groove. See him shaking his head. He is not going to be happy with that. You know, those grooves at the very beginning are there so that we can run straight, so that we can run fast, so we can jump onto our sleds and stay going straight down for that first 50 meters, and he just came out of the groove. All that momentum was lost.
What does that do to your head?
You know, it's very hard to be confident after that. It's very hard to pull it together. You're thinking about the mistakes you just made, and you're on your sled, and you really need to start thinking, okay, I've got to get through kink 1, kink 2, get through wall, get through these curves, and try to maintain as much speed as possible, especially now that I made that big mistake up top, and it's very hard to do. He's holding it together very well here, but you can see him just shaking his head and just very disappointed right out of that groove, and it's very hard to stay composed after that. You have to be very relaxed on your sled if you want your sled to go fast, if you want to get that speed down the track, and we're just not going to see that speed from him on this run.
Well, he's 7th in our World Cup standings. Worst result this season, 14th place in the season opener in Calgary.
1:29.4.
Good
That's
speed.
still very good speed.
Well, we were just talking in the gap between the runs, Noel, expecting the speeds to go up. You were hitting 136s in training. We didn't see higher than 130s in the first heat, so the track is speeding up. He was 20th, so at least he doesn't drop out of 20th place, but there's no opportunity to improve from that run.
Yeah, he's a full second, nearly a second and a half slower than his first run, though. I can't believe he had that much speed at the bottom, to be honest with you. Watch right here. He just put a little bit too much weight on that left arm, trying to slow it down, trying to speed it up, not really knowing what to do, just deciding to finally get on his sled before his sled just takes him down the track and he goes without a sled. It's better to jump on that sled. He uses his hand right there to try and get himself away from that wall. And then after this, you see him shaking his head. He is not going to be happy.
In the realm of ugly starts, that's one he'll want to expunge as soon as possible. Matthias Guggenberger of Austria, 19th after the first heat. 200 separated the two Austrian sliders, 19th and 18th. Guggenberger, the most experienced of the Austrians, 29-year-old soldier. Started sliding when he was 21.
498, that's 300ths of a second faster than his first run. He'll be very happy with that. Nice clean start, stayed in those grooves, and now he's coming right down the middle. It's very hard, you know, for these athletes that went near the end of the first heat to be able to hurry and get back up to the top, get warmed up, go to Parc Fermé. Parc Fermé is in a lot of time between runs where we actually get to work on our equipment, change things around a little bit, but there's limited time for these athletes that had already gone near the end of the first run, and now they have to go near the front of this second run. So to be able to be composed, get warmed up, so for him to come off and get his start time down by 300ths, that's great. 99.2,
not brilliant speed. This hasn't always been a good track for him. His first World Cup season, he was 19th the year after in 2009. His best result has been 8th last year in the Worlds, 23rd.
Down by a second, almost 2 seconds. Strictly from that start that Sergei had.
Faster at the bottom than, wow. He comes in quicker, but he was no faster in terms of speed than Chudinov after all that drama. Chudinov almost stopped dead at the top.
Yes, that's incredible for him to have built up that much momentum following that start that he had. But Matthias, you know, he just went about 0.2 of a second faster than his first run. As we said, it's hard to tell whether that was a better run for him. Here he is coming out of Horseshoe. You see his knees just a little bit bent. That's him driving his sled. He's trying to get off that wall. See that early entrance, how his left runner is raised up a little bit. He got in there a little bit too early. Let's look at it from this angle. Comes in nice and clean, keeps those feet together and his head low. He maintains his poise, so that's very good. Gives him a hug. Good competitors.
Moves into the leader's box as his teammate gets ready at the top of the track. Raphael Meyer, just 19 years old, scion of a real sliding family. His father, Manfred, coaches the Austrian bobsledders. He was a former slider. His younger brother races, Raf, races for the Austrian bobsled team, and he's got a 14-year-old brother as well who's coming up through the ranks as a skeleton slider. So lots of sliders in their family.
Only 0.02 of a second separate him from his teammate. He has one of the slower starts on the circuit. Let's see what his time is, if he can better it. 5:21. 5:21, that's a little bit slower than his first start. He had a 5:19 in his first heat. So he's gonna want to better Matthias's downtime right here. He needs to be at least 0.02 of a second faster to even tie him.
There's going to be a battle between the two Austrians. Raphael Meyer 13th in the World Cup rankings, Guggenberger 15th, and it seems likely that only one Austrian would go to Sochi. So Meyer's got to keep that advance over his teammate to guarantee himself the spot.
Yeah, and it's always a battle. Olympic year is very stressful on every athlete, and you can feel it as you get into the start house. You feel the tensions. Everybody's a lot more quiet, a lot more focused, not wanting to go outside of their bubble to talk to other athletes necessarily, just because there's so much intensity in the Olympic year, wanting to try and make that Olympic team. And many athletes still don't know, even though the Olympic Games are just a short, less than a month away, many athletes still don't know if they're going to make that team. And so it's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure every single race that they go into.
Well, it's an Austrian 1-2, but Raphael Meyer slips behind his teammate there, Matthias Guggenberger. First 3 of our 20 sleds down here. More to come in St. Moritz.
And there he is, just laying on his sled. Anytime you finish, it's a little discouraging when you're not able to maintain your position. Here he is getting onto his sled. A little bit of a slow start. Every 100th at the top is going to double by the bottom, and he just could not maintain his speed down the track.
2,300 slower than his teammate in the start area alone, but he only came down 3,800 slower, so given the disadvantage at the start, that wasn't bad. Next up, first time in the top 20 this season for the Greek driver, Alexandros Kefalas. Lives here in Switzerland at Samaden, which is one stop down the railway line from St. Moritz, so this is very much local ground for him. Greek father, Swiss mother is the parentage, and that's why he ends up here. There's a view of the Adidas starting spikes, these little 3/8 of an inch spikes. 375 of them on each shoe to allow the runners some traction on this sheet ice start.
He had a 5:18 in his first start. And here he is coming away with a 5:24. That's quite a difference. That's 600ths of a second slower on this second run, which is going to be even more difficult to maintain that speed on the way down.
Keeping the runners traveling as almost straight ahead as humanly possible, trying to be really settled on the sled and do nothing. Noel Piker's pace really hard, that slow early section to just lie there and let the sled have its own way.
It is very difficult. You have to trust yourself, you have to trust your abilities, and you have to trust that it's going to go straight. The momentum is going to carry you, but a lot of times you feel it shifting one way or the other. You feel the runners breaking out from under you, and you try to fix it, and it almost causes more problems than it would have if you hadn't done anything.
Nice run through Horseshoe, the signature turn here, got a good exit. He carries the speed, 99 kilometers an hour, quickest so far.
Down by 3,400ths, and he's had a little bit of a sloppy bottom, just coming off of curves a little bit high, dropping a runner down by 4,600ths, just not gonna be able to pull into the lead.
Well, he is quicker than he was in the first heat, 129.2 at the bottom. But 127 here, so it drifted away below Horseshoe. So I wonder if the changing nature of the track as the day warms up is having an effect on him.
The first thing you're looking for as you're coming up that ramp is your coach. You want to see if he has a smile on his face, if he's holding up a 1, if he's holding up a 2. Because a lot of times as an athlete, we don't know how clean it was. I mean, we can tell it was a decent run or it was a very bad run, but we really can't feel that speed. We don't know to the 100th if we're going to be ahead or behind our competitors. And so we're really looking for our coaches to give us that hand up, you know, hopefully showing us that number 1 sign.
Again, it was that Shamrock Devil's Dyke combination. Gregor Staley.
World champion right there.
Yeah, multiple champion. Next up, Christopher Grother of Germany. 15th at the start, came down in 16th position, so not a big improvement in his drive. Still young, 21 years old, junior world champion last season. Started as a ski jumper. His mum must have been quite happy when he changed to something slightly less insane like skeleton.
He had a little bit of struggles up top on his last run. Coming out of here, he wasn't as clean as everybody else, and he lost a little bit of time. That was much better than his first run. Runner straight, nice and parallel, head nice and low. He's just in a straight line. Shortest distance between 2 points, straight line. That's what we're always trying to do.
Ironically, for a track where all the corners have historic names, those first 2 corners have no name at all.
And kink 1 and kink 2.
Yeah, and they are some of the most frustrating for drivers occasionally. Through Nash and Dixon, named after the 1964 Olympic champions from Great Britain who were members of the St. Moritz Bob Club, and to the famous Horseshoe Turn. Telephone, Shamrock, and Devil's Dyke this year producing much more drama than we're used to seeing.
Yeah, Devil's Dyke last year was very easy, very forgiving, and this year you see athletes getting hung up very high on the exit of it, wanting to come over, cross into that left wall, and he maintained it. He held it very nicely. A lot of people have been down there filming all week, and so after we get done with training, we'll go back to our hotel room and we'll watch the video with our coaches, and they'll say, okay, look at this athlete did it right. Okay, look at this athlete it was off a little bit, and why is that? And then we try to fix it and figure it out. He's ahead by 100th of a second, and that's what the sport is all about. That's what it comes down to, 100th of a second. You can't even blink that fast. Trust me, I have tried.
Well, he had a brush on the wall just going down into Portago at the finish corner.
Here's his height in horseshoe, up by that yellow sign. That's where you want the peak of your height to be. He keeps those feet together. His head is low. His arms are nice and tight together. He just looks really nice. You see his left toe barely touching the ice, trying to say, get off this corner, get off. I don't want to hang up on this edge so that I can get a nice entry into here. Got a little bit of an abrupt transition there, but nothing too much to worry about.
Same as the first one. He didn't have the confidence to exit horseshoe and made the steer he didn't need. Christopher Grotehair leads by 100th after 2 miles of ice from Austria's Matthias Guggenberger. 15 sleds to go in St. Moritz. Second run of the men's skeleton race. Martin Haven and world champion Noel Piker's pace watching the action as Spain's Ander Mirambel blasts off from the start. Perhaps the best competition run of his career, the first heat. Can he build on that?
So exciting to watch his first run. So exciting to see his passion and his enthusiasm as he jumped off his sled after his first run. He was stoked, as he should be. His personal best time on this track ever, going down on that first run. Great clean run so far. Nice. He's executing it very well, staying composed, nice and clean. It's very difficult to do that after you lay down a personal best time, to come back, put it together on this second run, and to have that confidence to say, oh no, I hope I don't mess up. I hope I can keep it together. And he is doing that. He's doing very well keeping clean. This is where it's going to show. This speed coming into horseshoe. Let's see if he can do it.
Well, again, like
Very
the first
nice.
run, nice middle exit, middle height. 99.1, that's as quick as he was going in the first heat as well.
Still down. He's gaining some speed. He's down by 4/10. It was a much larger. It looks like he's going to run out of track, though. This track just won't be long enough for him to be able to catch up to Grotehair. So let's see, 129.6.
Well, that's
down
a
by
kilometre
34.
quicker than the German. He could shave another 10th, but he'll be about a quarter second back. Slips a
Into
place into third place, 2 places behind Grotehair and Guggenberger.
What a great day for Ander, though. I mean, he's got to be proud of himself. He's got to give himself a pat on the back, because what an exceptional day for him. Coaches clapping. Very, very happy for him. He's got to be thrilled with his performance today. He did very well.
First time he's made the cut all season, and only twice last year in the World Cup.
Here's his start. Switching hands, wanting to make sure that weight is just balanced over the top so you get nice and low so that all your momentum is moving forward. You see his eyes just focused on that first kink. Here he's coming out of horseshoe, his little left toe touching on the ice, trying to get him off that corner. Did a great job.
Really feeling the force here. Ander Mirambel of Spain slips a couple of spots. Christopher Grotehair leads. And another standout run in the first heat was from this man, 29-year-old farmer from Japan, Yuki Sasahara. Former baseball player, which is as huge in Japan as sports get.
You can see those little edges on the sides of the sled. Those are called bunks. It's little steel bars on the sides. In case we touch a wall, it won't hit our arms, it won't hit our sled. It'll actually hit those little steel bunks on the sides of our sled.
That's the theory, of course, but you look at any skeleton slider's arms and you know that the arm and the shoulder and the elbow play.
As mine are. I hit horseshoe a couple times this week, so my arms are a little black and blue from that.
Well, listen, good start from him. Both heats 5:18, keeps that consistency. And again, like Ander Mirambel, who had a really good first run, when you get to horseshoe, he was sort of in the middle height-wise and got a great exit and just built the speed all the way down. And again, looks really quiet on his sled.
Yeah, in years past, you've really needed that height in horseshoe, and this year just doesn't seem to be the same. As we mentioned, every year this track is built from scratch. I mean, it has the basis of what it needs to be, but they build it. He is flying. He's got some good speed, 98.8 coming out. You know, they rebuild it, and horseshoe's just a little bit different this year, and you haven't necessarily needed that height.
Well, he's dropping behind Christopher Grotehair. Grotehair shouldn't have been as low down the order as he was, and he's recovering. 129.5. Again, still nobody up at 130s here. Going to be a couple of tenths behind, and he, 800s of a second.
So close.
So he squeezes in front of Ander Mirambel, but again, first time in the top 20 this season for Yuki Sasahara. Now, I beg your pardon, he was 18th in Park City, 19th in the first race in Lake Placid, so makes the cut again.
Here he is coming through horseshoe, his feet nice and tight. See that little left toe touching on the ice just barely, and then he's like, okay, keep it off. I don't want that friction on the ice. He just trusts it. He puts his feet back together, keeps that head a little bit high, puts it back down, and back into form, ready to attack the track. Just a little bit.
It's great. I love watching the athletes in the box because they can't tell without the timing whether they're going to be up or down. There is the logo. There's the logo of the Dracula Club, the club here at the top of the track, built by Gunter Sachs, after whom one of the corners is named here, famous member of the club. And this is Frank Rommel, the old man of German sliding, because he's fully 29 years old.
I have a feeling he's going to bump up in the ranks on this one. He's done so incredibly well in training. He had some troubles at the top of the track between this kink and the big curve to the right, which is called wall. You see him fighting it just a little bit, but he stays composed.
And again, start draw number 2, so probably wouldn't have had as quick ice as some of the later sliders.
That's right. See him going out a little bit. Runner's not completely straightforward.
Martis Ducos from start draw number 1 did come down in second place. Frank from start draw number 2 in 13th, so it's not all about the track.
Ahead by 0.05 of a second.
He's had a bronze and a silver medal in the last 4 years here.
You see him staying very calm on his sled. Many athletes will fight it. Many athletes will shift their bodies quite a bit, trying to fight keeping their runners straight together, and he has a way of just melting into his sled. He has very good form with his feet staying close together, his head and his shoulders down low. His head came up a little bit there, but he is just gaining speed, up by 0.27 of a second, only going to grow as long as he can maintain it, as long as he can stay down the middle, which he has done. Up by 0.44, 131.1.
That fastest speed at the bottom we've seen all morning. Frank Rommel had a little tap on the wall, but that's a really good run.
This is what we expected of him of the first run, and for him to come back and put this together on the second run, I have a feeling he's going to stay in that leader's box for quite some time. 3,400 is better than his first time. That's incredible. He is going to be pleased with that. He's still going to be a little disappointed with how he finished on his first run, but having a second run come together like that, he's got to say, okay, nice, I put it together. Let's take a look. Here's Horseshoe. Coming up, getting that height, actually a little more height than what we've seen in the first competitors. Look at his head. He's turning it just a little bit to the right in order to push himself off of that corner and putting those feet back together, touching those toes. Here's another angle. You see that head turning. That's one way that we're able to steer our sleds. Shoulders, head, shoulders, knees and toes. Knees and toes, knees and toes.
Indeed, indeed. So Frank Rommel leads, and if he'd set that time in the first heat, he would have been 7th and not 13th. Ed Smith of Great Britain, really good first run for Ed. His first good World Cup run of the season. He's not made the cut this year, which is almost inconceivable with the momentum he had last year. 29-year-old electrician from Bristol in the West Country. 5:06 start. It's all just starting to gel here for him.
That's really all it takes many times. So he's a little bit slower than his first start. 200s isn't bad, but really that's all it takes is just one good race. If you could just get one good race, your confidence can be built up. You can come back and say, wow, I am back, I'm here, and that's what I've been missing. Now I get it, now I feel it, now I see it, and I can do this again.
And especially on this track, perhaps more than any other, just feeling the force is so much a part of the success.
That's it, and that's something great about this track here in St. Moritz, Switzerland, is that it's really a feeling track. It's really something where you go with timing and rhythm and flow, and you either melt with it or you don't, and this track is very easy to be able to feel that rhythm.
98.8, a kilometre an hour down on Frank Rommel. He needs speed at the bottom to hold on to a top 12 finish. Either way, win, lose or draw, I think he's to be a lot happier leaving St. Moritz than he has been so far this year.
Ed is having a really good run, but it just goes to show how impressive Frank Rommel's run really was and what he should have been able to do on that first run. It was just incredible. Ed is having a great run, and there's nothing against what he just did because he had a great run as well, but Frank just had an impeccable run, that second run that he did.
Well, that's a bit more of a throwaway run from Ed. That's 0.4 of a second slower than his first heat nearly. So he won't be overjoyed with that. That won't have felt the way that the first one did.
Yeah, he still gives a, okay, that's all right. You know, everybody's getting off his sled. He's still got to give himself some credit. He had a great day today.
Tied for second, Ed Smith. Well, he knows he's got the potential, Noelle, but knowing you've got it and then it's actually coming out are different things, aren't they?
Yeah, very different things, very different. The biggest trial that we as athletes have is what's going on between our ears. It's just what are we telling ourselves and what are we allowing ourselves to do?
Ben Sanford of New Zealand, a bronze and silver medal on this track in the last 4 years, but in the last 2, his form has a little bit deserted him. 11th after the first heat, there's leader Frank Rommel. Can he bust his way into the top 10 after a great second run? Martin Haven with Noel Piker's pace, watching action here in St. Moritz.
You see Ben, before he put on his helmet, he's saying something to himself. He's looking down the track. That's something that every athlete does. I mean, whether it's you're thinking about what you're going to do, you're just saying, I want to have the best run. Every athlete is thinking about something. For me, I'm always thinking about 3 different goals that I want to improve on. It's just putting it together, building on that process, one curve at a time.
Again, he's got such a long body. Keeping it still on this sled must be tough when you're 6'6" and change.
Excellent straightaway coming from kink 2 into wall. Nice and straight, parallel. This has been a difficult transition right there, and right there he just hit that left wall. It's been a very difficult transition all week coming out of wall, and he just showed what can happen, and that's just going to hurt your speed, especially where it's so high up on the track and he has so much more to go. That speed is just not going to be there going into horseshoe, and he's not going to be able to take over Frank Rommel.
That's not one of Ben Sanford's big years. Big skid off horseshoe, trying to really drive it down, and it didn't work. 96 kilometers an hour. That's horrendous. Last couple of years have deserted him. He's not going to be on the podium this time, though.
He had a very clean run going up until horseshoe, and then it just kind of has fallen apart since then. And it's really hard to put the mistakes behind you. Once you make one mistake, you're thinking, oh man, you know, I just made this mistake, and then all of a sudden you're missing it. How many places is he going to fall? Let's see where he ends up here.
Well, he was 400s in front of Rommel. He's now 1.57 behind him. He lost 1.6 seconds on that one run alone.
One run alone. And all it comes down to is one tiny little mistake, and it just compounds. It just, once you make that one mistake, it's harder to make the next curve what you want it to be, and it just compounds down the track. Let's take a look here. Coming out of curve 3, he hits the wall twice, skidding, turning his sled sideways, going into that curve, into snake 1, snake 2. You see the back end fishtail out. That is losing speed. Here he is coming out of horseshoe, trying to maintain. He's skidding all the way into telephone. Anytime your sled is not straight and parallel, you're losing time. It's friction on the ice.
Well, he looks disappointed with that rookie run. Frank Rommel is our race leader as we have 10 sleds still to go. The second and deciding heat in St. Moritz, Switzerland. There at the bottom of the track, you see Matthias Kuchenberger in the red hat, and a Mirambel and the rest. 2-minute hold here on the track for broadcasters, commercials, and Shelley Rudman. She'll be sliding with Noel Piker's pace tomorrow. Kristen Bromley waiting his turn. Noel, when you get this, you sort of back time your time to arrive at the top of the track, don't you? So you're in a... It's not an unexpected hold, so it's all part of your pre-run.
No, it's all part of planning, and you know that between the 10 people, there's going to be a 2-minute hold. You know that, you know, there's X amount of time before Parc Fermé, and so you plan for that. So you see these athletes, we're well prepared for events when it's, and even if there's a hold on the track, it's just something that you have to go with the flow and just say, okay, all right, I just need to take a breath. Maybe I'll go do a little more warm-up. It's all good.
Ivo Rug there, 2007 four-man world champion. Boy, what a party that was up at the Gunter Sachs Lodge at the top of the track. Last time the Worlds were here, 2011. 2012, what am I talking about? And Frank Rommel, 2007, that was the year he proposed to Julia from the podium, I think, wasn't it?
That is, yes.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Chatting to them last night, and yeah, it's time to start a family. He's retiring at the end of this season. A lot of coaches, a lot of fans here in St. Moritz as well, because Noel, it's, you know, it's Wimbledon, it's the Indy 500, it's Monaco, it's everything. It's got the glamour, it's got the history, and the track is so individual as well.
It does, and it is. It's absolutely an amazing track.
And this is going to be the hardest one to let go of, I guess. Well, let's get ready then to get our sleds back on the ice. 10 to go. Second heat of the men's skeleton in reverse order of their first round performance, where the leader goes last, and the time of both sides added to make the race winner. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me 2007 Women's Skeleton World Champion on this track, Noelle Piker-Space. And at the start is Hiro Takahashi of Japan. Both Japanese sliders having a really good run. Takahashi, 31 years old now, using all his experience to great effect.
These next 6 sleds that are coming down the track are very tight, very close together, within hundredths of a second. So it's going to be critical to put together every little detail of every curve and to make it happen. You can't afford to make any mistakes on this track, especially when you're talking about a hundredth of a second. He comes out, taps that left wall, out of wall. That's where you can lose a hundredth of a second or 200ths of a second. He's still out by 54 hundredths.
What a run he is having. Half a second up on Frank Rommel, the current leader. And in the first heat, the gap between them was only 18 hundredths. He's added 4 tenths nearly, or 3 tenths now to that.
He's dropping down by 49, and that hit right there, right before double stack, will not do him any favors. Coming out, skidding, tapping that left wall before Nameless. He's going to be losing some speed, I think, a lot more drastically than what we've been seeing. Down by 40, or up by 41 hundredths, which is incredible. He might be able to hang on. The track is almost to an end. 18 hundredths is going to be very close, only 129 kilometers an hour, close to 80 miles an hour.
Going to be close. Rommel was 131,
100th of a second, that's what we're talking about.
Can't believe it, and Katsuhiro Koshi, his coach, can't believe it either. 100th of a second after 2 miles of ice.
100th of a second. Could have come from his exit of wall, it could have come from his entrance to double stack. Anytime your sled touches a wall, you're losing hundredths, if not maybe even a tenth of a second, every single time you touch a wall.
The blink of an eye, not even.
Here he is right before Devil's Dyke, coming out, getting in a little early. You see him tap that wall, that's where he just lost a spot. It could have been there, it could have been one of multiple places, but every 100th of a second adds up. You see Frank's relief right there. Oh, and Koshi says, oh, 100th of a second.
A little bit of redemption for Frank Rommel. He needs one more top 6 finish, or the Germans won't let him go to the games. Kristen Bromley of Great Britain with Shelley Rudman holding the sled. Shelley Rudman has been rather hoovering up the gold medals in the last 6 years here. She races tomorrow with Noelle Piker-Space. Kristen Bromley won on this track last in 2009. The year after, he won everything. World and European Championships, World Cup, 7 of 8 races he started. Can he recapture that form here?
He was only down by 100th of a second. So I'm guessing that he'll be able to bump up with how sloppy of a run that Hirosu just had.
Big start. 5:15 first heat, 5:06 in the second. He knows he's got something that he hasn't yet shown us.
Great clean exit out of wall without tapping that left wall, as we just saw Takahashi do.
Kristen used to be the wildest slider. He used to have a really aggressive setup, and legs would be flailing everywhere.
Yes, but he still would go fast. And you know, we've learned that every athlete is different. Every athlete uses their body in different ways. As long as you can be fluid, as long as you can be, stay away from those walls and steer the sled where it needs to go. 100.3 kilometers an hour.
Sensational speed. Now, has he made a slight adjustment? He was 100.7 fastest at that spot last run, and it all ebbed away on the fast 4 corners at the bottom.
2900s. He's bleeding it away a little bit, but I think he's got it in the bag with the finish line coming right about now.
Good run from Kristen Bromley. That puts him into the lead with 8 sleds to go. Happy Shelley indeed.
You very rarely see her without a smile on her face.
Kristen Bromley, our race leader. 8 sleds still to come here in St. Moritz. Well, he pulled out nearly a tenth of a faster start, Noelle, and that's so hard.
It is. You look at this form, his feet trying to stay close to the sled, and he slipped just a little bit right there, getting onto a sled.
Shelley
The
Rudman.
grooves are making his sled wobble back and forth.
Shelley, the passion cheering on your partner to go quicker as well. I'm sure your kids and your husband Jansen feel exactly the same.
Yes, of course. Cheering, waving cowbells and flags.
Alexander Krökel of Germany, 8th after the first heat. And he is the best placed German in the finishing order at the moment. Krökel, 2011 Junior World Champion in men's skeleton. Still just 23 years old.
He lost a little bit of speed up here up at the top. His start time was a 5:11. Let's see if he can better that. 5:04, wow, that's very impressive. He just dropped his start time by 0.07 of a second, which is very impressive. Much cleaner exit of kink 2 than he had in the first run. He's going to put some pressure on Bobsleigh.
Well, one of the toughest things in this sport, Noel, is to be consistent. You know, we've seen 2 or 3 sliders having much better second heats, and that means they had a much worse first heat than they should have done.
Yeah, you know, you put it together, and after you get done with the run, as long as you're giving it your best and you say, you know, I had a decent run, I did the best I could, that's great. But most times we find that we make these little mistakes that we say, I could have done better. And so you go back up to the top, and hopefully you can improve on that and not let the nerves get to you.
Still 600s back. Bobsleigh was 100.3 kilometers an hour, though, at Devil's Dyke. So the gap grows. He's behind and dropping back into 3rd place.
He's got to have some speed in this finish curve in order to overtake him. It all comes down to velocity. It all comes down to speed. Let's see what his speed is right here. Down to 800 so second. 130.7 is going to be to the 100th of a second. Let's see what it is.
Could
Put
be
some
green
pressure
at the
on.
line.
Let's see what it is.
Lead.
200ths of a second behind. 200ths. Bobsleigh just barely made it. Oh, you see the joint coach just saying, oh, so close.
Coach Jens Muller can't believe the gaps are so tiny as well. Well, he comes in 2nd place ahead of teammate Frank Rommel. Until the last straight, he was behind Rommel on the splits.
That's one thing you don't want to see from your coach. When you feel like you had a decent run, you don't want him to see that number 2 sign as you're coming across that finish line. You know that you dropped back a spot. His head is a little bit high. You want to just keep it as low as possible. Nice form with the feet, though. Coming out of the 3rd last corner, here he is coming right down the middle. His head just a little bit high, and that's where you get that speed. The speed is 130.7. And Rommel, wow, that just shows how good of a run Frank Rommel had. 131.1. Decent speed, man.
Johnny Fairbairn of Canada, 7th place after the first heat. 600ths of a second out of a top 6 finish. That would add to his Olympic selection criterion. Let's see what Fairbairn can produce. 1 top 6 finish. That was the first race in Lake Placid.
Many countries have it in their rules that you have to have X amount of top 6 finishes or X amount of top 3 finishes. And I know the Canadians have that in their rule book as well in order to qualify for the Olympic Games. So anytime you can be in that top 6, that's a very good day.
Start is getting quicker. The ice softening maybe a little, giving more purchase for the spikes. He went from a 5:01 to a 4:99 start.
Yeah, this just isn't about just a World Cup race in St. Moritz. For many athletes, this is one race on top of another. It's a race within a race. A lot of athletes are competing against other athletes within their own countries, trying to make sure that they're on top to try and earn that Olympic spot.
It's so multi-layered right now. It's not just what you're seeing, but he is still in the green ahead of Kristen Bobsleigh. The gap's down to 1500s, and Bobsleigh was 100.3, so he's a kilometre an hour down. This is going to be close.
This is going to be close. Now he's up by 700ths of a second. Let's see if he can maintain that speed coming through these last corners. This is where we're really going to see where that speed makes a difference. Coming out of Sachs into Martin O'Pereira. He's not, I don't think he's going to do it. 129.9.
Again, we could be down to 100th.
How far is he going to fall back?
Oh,
and he
my
does it. He proved me wrong. Way to go. Way to prove me wrong. Wow, he found some speed in that finish corner. That is magic.
Well, Kristen Bobsleigh will be no
Excellent.
lower than 8th. His best result up until this stage of the season, 13th place. So another good run in St. Moritz, but Johnny Fairbairn holds on by 100th of a second in the booth with me last week. Glad to see him having a good day here in St. Moritz.
Depending on how the next athletes do, that could be an Olympic spot for him. I'm not sure how their qualifications go, but that could potentially be it.
Listen, 200s apart at the start, only 300s apart at the finish on both runs. That is consistency. Fair brain, nice work.
He had that speed in the exit horseshoe, 99 kilometers an hour. Look at him flexing his muscles. Number 1, he is happy.
Sun's out, guns out. And now for the USA, the first of 2 athletes in the top 6 positions. Kyle Tress, really strong run from Kyle.
He is coming out, and he is coming out strong. He loves this track here in St. Moritz, Switzerland. This also, that's something we should mention. They're going to have 2 races here, these men. They're going to have another race on Sunday. So to be able to lay it down here just gives them confidence going into the race on Sunday. Great exit of kink 2. Look at those eyes, just focused, so determined to just nail it. Coming out of wall, let's see if he can hold it and stays away from that wall. A little bit of a skid. This next split will show where he's at. Down by 2/10.
Best result of the season, 7th place on home ice in Lake Placid. Let's see if he can stay in the top half dozen.
Let's watch this speed. Let's see it coming out of here. Down only by 11. He has gained 100.2. He has the speed, great speed, and he had huge speed last run. Let's see how much he can build on. He had really good speed the first run that he did, so let's see if he can maintain it.
This could be his best result of the season. 500s away.
Laying it down. Way to go, Kyle. Let's see if he can hold it. Coming out of that Sachs corner, up by 300ths of a second, 130.4. This is going to be a personal best for him.
That's going to put him in the lead.
It's going to be a top 6 finish, and he did it. He did it.
Good stuff. Best result of the season from Kyle Tress.
So excited. Yeah. Great finish for Kyle Tress. Way to go. He's going to be thrilled about that.
Zach Lund holds up the single digit at the bottom. That's exactly what he wanted to see. You're in the lead. That means you're guaranteed a top 6 finish.
That is the best finish of his life. Look at that hug he gives him. Oh, he's got to be thrilled.
And we have to say good sled dogging from Zach Lund as well, don't we?
That's right.
Yeah, he did promote that quite heavily. Nice line again. Not super high, but it's the exit that really
You can
builds.
see he's not working that hard, though. You don't see his feet touching the ice as we've seen many athletes do. Anytime those feet are touching the ice, that's a loss of friction. You see his sled come up just a little bit coming into the second corner. You'll see it. His shoulder will get a little brunt. Oh, right there. He caught it a little bit too early going into telephone, but it's okay. He maintained his speed. He's saying, hello, Morgan Tracy. I love you so much.
Yay. Top 6 finish. Great stuff. Now some noise from Sarah Reed and the other Canadian girls who'll be racing tomorrow as Eric Nielsen gets to the top of the ice. Viessmann's had a bit of an up and down season this year, but this is a real chance to bring some of that old Viessmann magic to the track. Eric's best result, 5th in Calgary. Can he match that here? He was only 400s ahead of Kyle Tress. A very tight battle. Started 5:01. Are we into the 4.9s? 5:01 again. Big starts from Eric Nielsen.
He is a bigger athlete. That weight will just help him get down the track a little bit faster. Gravity definitely plays to favor those that are heavier. His speed wasn't quite up there with Kyle Tress's, so it'll be interesting to see how he does in relation to Kyle's second run. Kyle had an extraordinary second run. Let's see if he can match it.
1600s up 3/10 in front of Sonny.
3/300s a hub. Here he is coming through Nash and Dixon.
And trickles through the middle on the low part. No riding the walls. Lovely
look
looking
at that
slide.
form. Feet together. Excellent exit. Excellent exit. 99.9. Not quite what Kyle Tress had.
Use the force, my son. It is strong in him this afternoon. He's having a beautiful run.
26. He's bleeding a little bit. We'll see how long this track is and if it plays to his benefit. If the finish line comes, his head is up pretty high. As that speed comes, you want your head to get down.
Tucks it down on the straight.
128.8 is not it.
Gonna be close. Oh, little tap on the wall between Martineau and Portago at the line by 100.
Oh,
no!
1400s. Kyle just moved up into 5th place.
Wow. And Eric Nielsen drops
back.
5 spots.
In
1400s of a second.
That hit on the finish, I think it cost him a spot or two.
Didn't have the speed in the bottom straight, only 128.8, so 1.5 kilometers to 2 kilometers away. But 1400s covering 5 athletes, that's brutal grouping.
Yeah, he's gonna be a little disappointed. It looks like his head might have slipped away from him, which could say why his head was a little bit high coming out of this finish. He taps this right wall right there on that wood. That, I'm telling you, that's gonna leave a mark on his shoulder.
So they dropped back to 5th.
Kyle Tress of the USA, from Johnny Fairbairn of Canada, Kristen Bromley of the UK are the top 3 with 4 to go in St. Moritz. Brutal grouping in the lead group at the moment, but only 1700s covered the top 4 after Heat 1. Our World Cup points leader.
Start record on his first run, 475. Let's see if he can better that.
Gotta go quicker. Oh, 478.
Not too shabby for the Russian rocket, though. That is a very impressive start. You see his runners coming to the left, coming to the right. He's fighting it.
Watch the toes as well, moving those legs quite substantially just to get subtle steers. And again, the legs hanging right out there like Sergei Chudanov.
This Russian program has come a long, long way over the years that I've been around. They are doing extremely well, and every year that I'm around, they just keep improving. I mean, their starts are untouchable on the women's side, on the men's side, all around. Very, very nice clean exit out of horseshoe, 99.6 kilometers an hour.
Still not 100 that Kyle Trask had, despite the fact he started over a quarter second faster. He is bleeding speed here, down to 6,500s from 89 at Sunny.
He lost a lot of speed on his first run, but I just think 6,500s is going to be too much to lose. He's going to stay in his position. He's going to keep that spot, 129.9.
Doesn't crack 130 kilometers an hour off a start that's like being fired off the deck of an aircraft carrier. 110.07. That's slower than his first heat. That is not going to put him in the medals. He has the lead.
It could potentially put him in that medal position. You never know. You just never know what's going to happen.
The top three have got to give it away.
Someone's going to have. If someone falters, he will be up there. But it's going to be a battle.
He didn't look jubilant, did he? Lots of noise from the Russians.
Look at his sled. Look at that. It's rocking back and forth. That shows how shallow that groove is, and just why his teammate popped out of the groove.
Settles early. Keeps the shoulders low and wide, though. You see a lot of guys tightening them up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up. He leads with 3 to go. Matt Antoine of the USA, the 28-year-old from Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. First-time World Cup winner this season. And really feeling after that gold medal in Lake Placid, feeling so much confidence.
Last week he finished just outside of the medals, and I know he was disappointed with that. Once you get a feel for being on top, once you get that taste of being on the podium, you almost expect it. Other people expect it of you, and you just want it, and you have that hunger inside of you to go after it and to just get it done. So I know that's what he's going for today. He does not want to fall back. He wants to be on the podium. He wants to take home some hardware.
100th in front of Alexander Tretiakov, the World Cup leader after the first heat. Antoine under real pressure. Gets a good run through the first kink, though.
Excellent start for him. That improved by over 1/10 of a second. He wants this. He is hungry. He is fighting for it. He is an athlete that has confidence, and he is going for it. You see his form, his feet together, his head low, impeccable. Very, very good.
Long and lean, and wind tunnels tell us that works really well. That's why fish are that shape. Fluid flow.
It does, and he is having a very nice clean run. Now, this is what it comes down to. This is what it comes down to, is this horseshoe curve. He needs it to be 100 kilometers. Let's look for that 100 kilometers. And he has 100 kilometers. He's got a chance to hold on to that podium finish.
Better speed than Tretiakov. He's still in the red.
Late entry. That was a little bit messy.
Now he's in the green. Tretiakov, 129.9. Matt Antoine needs 130 kilometers and needs to be...
This is going to be a tight race. Here we go. 900, 136.
He is going to hold that podium spot.
He is going to be happy with his run. He has just laid it down and said, I am to be contended with. I am one of the favorites.
109.97, just 700 separating that from his first heat. A great run to take a medal.
He is gaining momentum every race, and this is just giving him confidence to build upon. Going into the Winter Olympic Games, he's got to be thrilled with himself.
That was not a good run.
Oh, yeah?
He is happy. He barely missed out on the Olympics in Vancouver. He finished on the podium the year before, and he missed out on the Olympic spot, and he is fighting, and he is fierce, and he is to be reckoned with. Look at this exit out of Sachs, nice clean. His head is low. Great speed, 130.6 right up there. He's got to be thrilled with that. Way to go.
Well, if that wasn't a good run, they're in trouble when he gets 2 good ones together. 2 sleds left to go. Matt Antoine of the USA leads, 2 Latvian brothers next up. And Martins Dukurs is the most successful nation in the nations tables here, with 2 wins, a silver and a bronze in the last 4 outings in St. Moritz. Can he do it again?
He barely missed out on the World Championships. He finished 2nd, silver position, just like me last year. So he is hungry for this race. He is hungry to lay it down and say, St. Moritz is my track. I've got this.
Good momentum, 51.8 kilometers an hour, 32 miles an hour. Think about that from a 50-meter sprinting start. That's insane speed a human can generate.
Up by 0.3 of a second. You rarely see the Dukurs brothers make a mistake. and you rarely see them off the podium.
Working hard with the feet there just to get the line right out of Nash and Dixon, and superb exit from the horseshoe, 100.4. Great speeds as well.
Every other athlete that I've seen in horseshoe has broken their form just a little bit. They've separated their feet just to try and force their sled off of that corner, and he has kept it together. He's kept that head low, even in these high-pressure curves. We're reaching speeds over 80 miles an hour, and he is just holding it together and blowing it away. 131.6 kilometers an hour. Excellent run for Martin Stukers.
This is about beating his older brother, 109.30, a massive run. His brother Martins, who led, came down in 109.74 in the first heat, so that's 4400s quicker.
And you know, Tomas is standing at that starting line, seeing that time come up, and he's saying, oh wow, he just blew away my time by 0.4 of a second. I've got to put it together. Martins just did it. Now I've got to lay one down. Here he is. Look at this form that I was talking about. Feet are just together, heels nice and tight. His head is just turning just a little bit. Oh, there comes his little leg, just going up a little bit. You can see that he was steering. Oh, he does drag his little right toe right there, keeping him away from that left-hand wall. That's something I didn't notice when he was in full speed.
Must have steered for just a tap for half a tenth of a second. Yeah.
Barely. The less is more.
Now, Thomas Ducour's first round leader. Can he hold on and beat his brother to keep the Ducour's success alive on this track? He has not been on the podium in St. Moritz in his career since 2006, but look at him go away from the start, really scrabbling for those hundreds.
493, let's see if he can better it. 490, betters it by 0.03 of a second.
He recognizes the pressure set by his brother's epic run. Martins Ducours was nearly 0.6 of a second quicker in his second heat, and Thomas already is feeling that pressure.
And he saw that, and you can, I mean, regardless, their dad travels with them, coaches them, they're on their own equipment. He's down by 800s. It's going to be impossible, if I dare say, to make up that speed. With the run that Martin's had, Martin's just had an incredible run. It's going to be tough to beat that.
Well, Thomas had a really good run in the first heat. He just needs to replicate it. 900s away, the gap is barely moving. Quicker than his brother.
100.5, and that's what we look for. We look for speed. This is a sport of speed, and if you've got that speed, it's going to gain. 1200s, he just lost 0.04 of a second between those two splits.
Can he bring it back? 131.6 from his brother, out of Sachs. Great exit,
Battle
avoids
of the
the wall.
brothers, Battle of the brothers, down by 2 tenths.
Silver. It's not going to be Thomas Ducour's day.
Silver
Martins
bronze, silver
is going to win it. Silver medal position, it's another 1-2.
Way to go to the Ducours brothers. What a great showing. What a great showing for Matt Antoine of the USA. I mean, just a great race overall.
Fantastic stuff. Thomas Ducours takes the silver medal. Martins Ducours, the race winner, laid down such a gauntlet. Thomas just couldn't find the extra pace in that second heat.
And look at that, still happy. Happy for their brother. I mean, what a great family.
What consistency, though. 1:09.74 in the first heat, 1:09.70 in the second from Thomas Ducours. But Martins wins again. Alexander Tretyakov offers his congratulations. Tretyakov fourth, Kyle Tress of the USA in fifth, Johnny Fairbairn of Canada in sixth, and Kristen Bromley's best result this season, 7th place for him here in St. Moritz. The first of 2 race days here. They'll race again on Sunday, and expect to see this man once more feature, because Noel, he just has it.
He just has it, and you see it when he slides. He feels it, he gets it, he knows it, and everybody's just looking up to him and saying, that's what I want to be, that's how I want to do it.
See him steer there in horseshoe. He's not even looking up at the track. He just knows where he's going, turns his head to steer himself down. Half the time he's not looking where he's going, and that is the secret. If you can do that, you've got confidence.
You've got it.
He's the one man who watched video of Gregor Staley here and went, yeah, I see how that's done, and can go and do it. His brother Thomas lies second. Matt Antoine back in the medals again in third place. Alexander Tretyakov in fourth. Great day for Kyle Tress. Good results for Johnny Fairbairn, Kristen Bromley, and Eric Nielsen as well. And the 2 Japanese sliders really going strongly here. Redemption for Ed Smith, top 12 finish, first time making a cut. And the Mirambel having a strong run as well for Spain. We will catch up with our top 3 in just a minute. Well, as ever, Noel Piker's Pace, lots of travelling Latvian fans, and if you're going to come to a racetrack, this seems to be one that a lot of people turn up. That's the one where I've never arrived here. One day, maybe.
One day.
Yeah.
Take me with you.
Yeah. So, a little bit of glamour in St. Moritz as ever, and a little bit of champagne. It'd be rude not to. It is, after all, just after midday. That must be drinking o'clock somewhere. It's got to be 5 o'clock somewhere, hasn't it? And the famous start area, the Gunter Sachs Lodge. Came here in November, green, grass and weeds in the start area. Very bizarre to see it without the ice and the snow that we're so used to.
If you actually walk down the track, they have binoculars that you can look into and say, oh, that's what it looks like in the summertime, and it looks so different.
What's the temperature showing there down at Horseshoe? Plus 1.8 degrees. Come here in February for the World Championships last year. You were lucky for it to be minus 18 at this time of day. Gets very cold up here. 1,775 meters above sea level. Trees run out just a few hundred meters above us at 2,000 meters. That's how high up we are in the Swiss Alps. And this place has got so much magic and so much mystique. And the last remaining hand-built track. Very different feel and different sound, isn't it?
It's very different. You don't feel the expansion joints as you feel in every other track. You don't feel the bumps that you feel. There are much less headaches on this track than on any other track in the world. And the transitions are just so smooth. It's incredible. Whether, you know, even when you have a bad race, you can't help but smile when you get off your sled and you say, wow, what an incredible job I have.
Yeah, tough day in paradise. But there you go. And the view as well, it's something that when you're at the top of the track, you know that sliders for a century have taken in exactly the same view. And again, there's something there, you know, it's that history at every turn around this town and around this track. And it's such a big part of coming here and enjoying the racing. And with the track producing such great races, that just adds to the draw. St. Moritz, Switzerland, the first of 2 men's World Cup races for skeleton this weekend. Martins Ducours wins again. He leads the World Cup rankings from Alexander Tretiakov, who won the World Championship here last year. Thomas Ducours lies in 3rd. Matt Antoine, so strong season. He's 4th ahead of Frank Rommel and Johnny Fairbairn. Don Parsons of Great Britain, disappointed not to make the second heat, but still in the top 10 in the men's overall season rankings. Some great drives, individual performances from some of the athletes here today. St. Moritz seems to bring out the best in a lot of these sliders. Well, where you finish after next week's race in Eagles will have an effect on whether or not you go to the games, but you can expect to see all these 3 representing their nations. And as the flowers and the champagne are handed out, there is our winner, Martins Ducours. Noel Piker's Pace, you've won on this track before. You've been a medalist several times on this track before. When we see his winning run, it's hard to analyse, isn't it? Because he just does so few mistakes.
So few mistakes, and it's very hard to see because he makes it look so easy. He makes it look so fluid, and so when you try to say, is he driving here? He holds still. He stays calm. Here he has such an exceptional start as well, which only helps him go so much faster down the track. What a great run through Horseshoe. Feet together. As we saw a little bit earlier, you can barely even see his feet. Here we're going to see it right here, and his feet don't even touch the ice. Maybe a tiny little bit right there just to keep him away from that wall, which allows his momentum to continue forward. You look up for your coach to see that #1 sign, and you know you did a great job. You just laid it down.
He's thinking his way down this track. He's barely even reacting to the sled. He's got it firmly going where he wants it to. So it is Martins Ducours of Latvia who wins World Cup number 5 of the season, the 2nd World Cup going on Sunday for the men's skeleton. Let's hear from our top 3 now. John Morgan is in the finish area.
Matt Antoine, a bronze medal. Again, you seem to be very comfortable on your sled as you head into Sochi.
Yeah, things are going well. First run was a little disappointment at the start, but I had a great drive down the track, and then the second run was kind of the opposite. But things are coming together, and hopefully keep progressing from here.
Congratulations. Enjoy the champagne. Now we go over to one of the first Ducars. And Thomas, your first run, your second run not as good as your first run.
Actually, runs were quite similar, just Martins did much better in second attempt, so that's the difference. I did same.
Congratulations. Now, Superman, Martin or Thomas sets the stage. Does this give you more incentive in the second run?
Of course, we always push each other, and it helps. And maybe in first run was pretty solid run, just maybe not the best starts number choice in snowy conditions. But for second run was also I improved in push. So I'm happy with the result, and thanks for all team and for supporters.
Great gold medal. Now, gentlemen, remember, you have another race in a couple days, so enjoy St. Moritz.
Thank you.
Well, they won't be enjoying the wild side of life in St. Moritz. They've got a race again on Sunday, so go away, relax on Saturday, re-prepare yourselves. It wouldn't be at all surprised, Noel Piker's pace, to see the same three men setting the pace again come Sunday's race.
Not at all, and you know that confidence is just going to build them and build that momentum in. And we had a lot of athletes that had some personal bests, and it'll be exciting to see if they can build on that as well.
Well, my thanks to Noel for all her thoughts and talking us through a great race here. She's in action tomorrow in a very busy day in St. Moritz. Make sure you join us. Until then, from Noel Piker's Pace, John Morgan and me, Martin Haven, for the FIBT TV crew in St. Moritz, thank you for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow for much more action.